understand, you've got to take yourselves back about 2 years, so some of this sounds a bit irrelevant, but I hope you can hear me. I hope you can, if you're really struggling, let me know and I'll shout louder. So, this is why...
That's not you, that's him.
Come on, no heckling now.
I need a wee-wee.
So this is why I said...
That's not you, that's him.
hard enough as it is. I'm half pissed and I'm standing on a table.
Don't fall off.
We don't.
Go on, Richard.
Right, it's very unusual to arrive at any Morris event and not find Geva there before you, sitting at a table, a pint of beer in front of him, finishing off the Times crossword, reading glasses at the end of his nose. Today, of course, is the one occasion when you wish that he hadn't arrived before us. I got to know Geva about 15 years ago, read 17, 17 years ago, when, at the behest of Dougie Adams, I joined Blackheath Morris. I ended up, that wasn't a joke, I ended up sharing quite a few journeys home with Geva as he, like me, lived in Hither Green. These journeys would be full of hilarious banter as we conversed to and fro about all aspects of the Morris. Okay, that's not really true. The conversation was largely a monologue from me, hugely enthused by the newly discovered world of the Morris. Geva's contribution, on the other hand, would generally be monosyllabic, occasionally a no-mix sentence, or if he was particularly taciturn, a nod. Geva's taciturnity, yes, that is a word, I looked it up, was legendary. Like the time Nodge was giving John Offord, also a quite quiet bloke, and Geva a lift in his car to some Morris event. For the whole journey, Nodge held forth enthusiastically, discussing all manner of things, and receiving zero response. In fact, it actually got to the point that Nodge forgot they were there. But let's not mistake taciturnity for grumpiness. Geva wasn't a grumpy man. He had his dislikes: kids in pubs, the smoking ban, animals, overpriced beer, all sports, except tiddlywinks, politicians, Morris lines not straight enough.
Lines are shite.
But he wasn't grumpy. In fact, although he rarely started a conversation, in a comfortable setting, the pub, he would converse and give his opinion, peppered with a dry humour. He absolutely wasn't somebody you would try to avoid, because he was actually very friendly. But it would be pointless trying to avoid him anyway, because he was always there. Geva was the member of Blackheath Morris with the longest unbroken record of service, over 40 years. There are others that may have been in the team for longer, but all of them had a significant break. Geva was just there at every practice, blizzard or heat wave, week in, week out. And in the hyper-rare event of him not being there, he would have informed you in triplicate several times for weeks beforehand. Geva liked a drink, beer in particular, and although his social life revolved around the pub in one way or another, in my experience, he rarely appeared drunk in the cliched, wobbly, slurred speech way which I'm demonstrating. Sometimes he just looked a bit sleepy, but there are some great stories involving Geva and drink, some of which I'll share with you. Some, the more notorious ones, you'll more likely hear later on. There was the time he made the basic rookie Morris mistake man of not pitching his tent at an ale before going drinking. We've all done it. Eventually he struggled to put up the pole at one end before crawling into the grotesque, shapeless bag of the unassembled tent, to the cheering and encouragement of the rest of the team. There was the time in Saddleworth, returning at stupid o'clock to the church hall where he was staying, accompanied by Ken, Mel and Rick. As Rick reached the top of the church steps, he started to fall. Geva, in the perfect position to save him, gallantly stepped out of the way, allowing Rick to crash to the ground. I could have damaged my accordion. Patch told me about a time when he and several other members of the team needed to get some sets of Morris bells made. Geva helpfully organised a bells workshop at his gap. Although some bells were certainly made, the best part of the day was spent consuming a bottle of Bell's whiskey. Like I said, Geva wasn't a grumpy man. He took everything with a kind of patient good humour, and it was this lack of exasperation with us that would lead to some of the teasing Geva eventually received from the team. Like at practice, barricading the door to the toilet with hat stands, small tables, instrument cases, etc. Every time he went to the loo. Every week. The fact that he didn't explode or even sigh as he extricated himself and returned to the practice hall somehow just made it funnier and more endearing. At previous Blackheath Ales, Morris gatherings, that is, for those of you who aren't in the Morris world, an ale is a Morris gathering. There used to be a guess the weight of Geva competition. Next to the details of the competition pinned to the wall were columns detailing in and out since the start of the day. Mind boggles. It was Graham and I that came up with the song, What a Friend We Have in Geva. After I discovered that if you only half listen and are maybe a bit drunk, Geva sounds a little bit like Jesus. So after discounting Geva's hands are kind hands, and Geva wants me for a sunbeam, Graham wrote the immortal, What a Friend We Have in Geva. The instrumental version of which you heard earlier today from some of us.
When can we sing it?
We will be singing it once I've finished this. Patience, dear boy. And I guarantee most Blackheath men will have had some of the lyrics going around their heads as it was performed. Despite the fact that the song includes some rather rude lines about flatulence, something else I'm really not going to discuss here. It is a song full of admiration for a man who, as we've discovered, led a remarkably full life for somebody who could quite accurately be described as unassuming and was the linchpin of organisation in Blackheath Morris. Because Geva was, very rarely in Morris Man, quite exceptionally organised. One of the more surprising things we discovered after Geva's death was that he kept a daily diary, noted in, thank you for that light, that really helps. He kept a daily diary, noted in small pocket diaries. We also found a sheet which seemed to detail some dates that were important to Geva. These include 14th of February, August 1978, first Morris practice. 7th of October 1978, first Morris tour. 3rd of September 1979. This is possibly the first dance out with Blackheath. This is just over 40 years ago. 19th of August 1980, Paris with Blackheath. 26th of December 1981, first Boxing Day dance out. 5th of June 1982, Dwyle flunking. Asterix comes in here. The English game of Dwyle flunking is an East Anglian pub sport involving two teams of 12 players, each taking a turn to dance around the other while attempting to avoid a beer-soaked Dwyle cloth thrown by the non-dancing team. 25th of September 1983, bought synthesizer. Hands up who saw that one coming. And this, just in the first 5 years. It becomes clear to us that Geva did lead a very full, if foreshortened, life. And it was a life lived with different groups of people. His loyal mates from the pub. Meeting at the Talbot, including Andy, who did so much to spread the awful news about Geva's sudden death. Blackheath Morris. Hey! Fowler's Troop. Hey! Fowler's Molly. Hey! The music sessions at the Star and Garter. Hey! And of course Margaret and her family, and who he would visit at regular points twice a year, unfailingly. There are things he did that we're going to miss hugely. The annual barbecue in his garden, one of the few occasions his Morris friends and his pub friends would be in the same place. The garage, scene of the infamous Blackheath AGMs where cool discussion would descend into full-scale vitriolic ranting. And the curries. Geva made amazing curries, the pride of the team. He himself liked to curry enormously, so much so that I heard several stories that involved him falling into his own curry. So we're here today to say goodbye to a kind, generous, and unfailingly faithful friend. A musician, a dancer, a drinking companion, and, it turns out, a Doctor Who fan. Oh. He led a life that was so full that I've invariably had to miss things out. But I'm sure we'll hear much more later on. We'll remember him at every AGM when we dance Cuckoo's Nest and the sound of the keys of his accordion sticking don't come. At Deptford, Jack in the Green, Hastings, Croppedy, thank you. Rose and Castle or Saddleworth. We'll dance, forever hearing the inevitable criticism. The lines were shite. We'll have a drink, a play and a dance for him this afternoon and this evening. And we'll chat and we'll remember a really good bloke. That's it. Now, before I move on, I have distributed, if you haven't got one, you need to be near somebody that has one, the words to what a friend we have in Geva, and we just need somebody to kick us off on a note.
I think that's you.